Hello guys, my name is Donald Bada. I'm a full stack developer, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a very simple application. This application is just a period calculator. I know it's a woman stuff, but I was just wondering what can I teach today, and it just dropped my mind, why not a period calculator? Why a period calculator is very simple to do, and it's very suitable for beginners, because the code are not we don't have a lot of line of code. We don't have a lot of line of code, and it's very simple, and you can learn a lot from it. So that is it. So that is the result you are seeing. So you can see right front, we can see now that we are having two sections. We are having the first one, which we take the record, and which we take our data, and the second one will give us the result. So we are having two input bars. One will be taking our first data, which will be the date of the first day of our period, but just a way to say it, because we want the first date, the date of the period, which I already set, and the number. Let's change it, and the number of the inside the cycle, the number of the inside the period, if it's 30 days, if your cycle is 30 days or 40 days. So we are having 30. I just put 30, and I just press calculate. When you press you click calculate, we just see that we are having some data under. So let me refresh again. You see that when you refresh, we don't have any data. So when we just set a new data inside, and we just give the number of days, which is 30, we click calculate, you can see that we are having a result under. So that is it. So guys, let's go and see how we can build that. So first thing we are going to do, we are going to set an index.gss, index.html, sorry. In this tutorial, I'm not going to set most of the time I used to make separate file, which will be index HTML, CSS file, and JavaScript file. So I won't be doing that one now. I won't be doing that one in this tutorial. I will just put all of them inside my index HTML, so it will be in one. So let's go. So right after that, what we do, we are going to change the title here, which will be a period calculator. So right after that, what are we going to do? We are going now to build the first part of our HTML, the first part of our app, which will be where we are going to set our data. So that is it. So I'm going now to set the first part of it, because I can see that we have two. As I told you, we have where we are setting the data, and we are inserting the data, and where we are getting the results. So that is it. So let's go. And the first thing we are going to do, we are going to set a div class container, and inside that div class container, we'll be having what? We'll be having a div. So let me separate it well. So we'll be having a div class container input, and inside that container input, we'll be having another div class container input date. So inside that div container input date, we'll be having h2. The h2 will be having enter the first day of your period. So that is it. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to put the input type date and you'll be having the ID input, and we're having a placeholder. The placeholder is not necessary because the moment that we put the input, we put the type date, it won't be necessary, so we just close that. And that is it for our first input box. So let's check the result. We are going to start our online server. So let's just, so that is it. So you can see that we have our title at the top and we have our input box down. So when we click on the calendar inside the input box, we can see that the small icon calendar inside the input box, you can see that we have a calendar appearing under. From there we can just select the day, our day, and when you select it, we just set it inside our input box for us. So that is it. So is when we set the type, a type date, we can have that kind of functionality. So that is it. So the next thing we are going to do now is we are going to repeat the same process for the second input. It's supposed to be this one rather. The input not supposed to be in, so it should be like this. So that is it. Let me see. Okay, so it has to be like this. So let me see now. Wow. Let me arrange it better. Okay, let me check now. I'm just arranging it a little bit so that we won't be confused. So that is it. Let me see. Okay, so that is it, because we want all our input box to be inside our container input. So that is it. So here we'll be having, we will change here to day, and the next thing you are going to do, we enter your, here it will be rather enter your number, day, period, and you make a few changes. This one will be test, the next one will be an ID in, it will be period, not input, and the next one will be place holder type here. So that is it. So let's go and check how it look like. So that is it. We have our second input was. So the next thing we are going now to do, we are going to set we are going basically to set our button, our calculate button. So we put it here, we put it just under here. So let me just reduce the space. Okay, that is it. So we just put it under here, and that calculation will be inside a div class container input button, and inside that div we will be having a button ID. We'll be having an ID button, we close it, and now we'll be having calculate. So that is it. So let's So that is it. That is the way it will look like. So basically that is the way our first part will look like. So let's check how it is. So guys, you can see how it look like. So good. So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to do our second part, which will be our result section, where we are going to display the result after setting the necessary data, where we are going to get the result. So we are going to set them. So we will just do div class container results. So that is it. And inside that div class, we'll be having another div class container result date, and we'll be having h3 your period is due. Ovulation. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going now to copy this one. I'm going to paste it again. I'm always give space among them so that we won't get confused. So that is it. And after copy and paste it, we do what, we make some few modification. So let me check. No, here the ID is supposed to be a result. It's not result ovulation. So here too we'll be having container result ovulation date. So that is it. And we'll be having your ovulation day. Yeah, the ovulation day. So right after that, what are we going to do? We are going to copy again and paste the same thing, because so we copy and paste. And what we are going to do here, we are simply going to change some few things again. Here we just add fertility period, and your period fertility period. And now we having fertility too. So I think guys, that's all. So guys, that is it. So you can see that the H3 we are having where the H3 with empty tags, where we'll be having the ID. Now let's see the first one. We are using them to display the result. We are using where we are setting the ID to display the result. So we are going to grab them inside JavaScript section there to display the result. Is why we have made them empty. So that is it. So let's now, what are we going to do next? We are going straight to our style. So we are going to style it. So I'm going to set a style tag inside our HTML document. I told you I'm not going to separate them, I'm going to make them together. So that is it. So to do that, first thing we are going to do, we are going to import our font family. So I'll quickly go to font. I'm having it already here, so I'm just going to copy it, sorry, and paste it here. So for information, for those people who doesn't know, you just go to fonts.google.com and to direct you to the page where you can select them. So that is it. So fast forward, we are going to grab our input section. So our input, we are going to give a width of 50 ph, a height of 5 ph, and we are going to give a font size of 20 ps and a text align center and a border radius which will be 5 ps. So that is it. So the next thing we are going now to do, we are going to grab our dot container input. Guys, don't worry, I will show you the result right now, which will be giving a display. Plus we are going to align our input box horizontally, and item center we give a justify content center to we give another justify content space around with a width of with a width of 100 ph. So let's check now. So that is it, guys. You can see that our input box was in color. Now they are horizontally aligned, and we are going now to push them in the middle. So that is what we are going to do. We are going now to center them in the middle of the page, and also work on our calculate button, So that is it. So let's continue. So right after that, what are we going to do? We are going to tackle our container. So we'll be just putting display flex to it. We'll be having the flex direction colon. We'll be having a line item center, and we'll be having also background color RGB 199 171 224. So no, yes, that is it. And we'll be having a margin. That margin will be having 0 ps stop, and the browser will be having 150 ps, and they will be having to a high. We'll be having a high of 40 ph, and the justify content center. So that is it for our first part. So guys, that is it. You can see that our first part, the way it's looking now, we left now to style the button. So we tackle our button. So we're clicking no, sorry, I'm doing a mistake. We click our button, and the button will be having we'll be giving to our button a width of 15 ph, and we'll be giving a flex direction column we'll be giving alliance item center. We'll be giving to a background. Oops. Sorry guys, I'm doing a mistake. We'll be giving a width of 15 VH. We'll be giving a height of 5 VH and a font size. We'll be giving a font size of 20 PS, and we'll be giving a border. A border radius. Yes, we'll be giving a border radius of 5 PS and a background color. That background color will be different on the one we have used for our first part. So we'll be having the two, and we'll be having and we'll be having a color. We'll be having a color white, and we'll be having the border none, and a margin top. The margin top will be 10. Yeah, so that is it. So let's now see the result. How perfect that is it. So you can see that our button is there, nice looking. So let's see. Okay, so I think that you have to give the margin top to it. I think the margin. Okay, so let's see how. Okay guys, so you can see that now it's the same thing. You have now that the distance between the box and the calculate button now is okay. It's the same thing like the one we are having here. So that is it. So the next thing we are going to focus now, we are going now to arrange or to style our result part to make it look like this. So that is it. That is what we are going to do now. So let's go. So we are back to our style. So what do we do now? So now we are going to grab our container results. That is it. So dot container result. We have in a display flex direction colon, and we'll be having a background. So we'll be having a background colon color. So we are going to give a background color which will be red. So we'll be giving for this one 17171 and 224 and 206. So that is it. And the next thing you are going to give now, which will be a margin. You'll be giving a margin 10 PS and 150 PS, and we'll be giving a high as usual 40 VH, and we just do justify content center, and we'll be giving a font family to it, which will be the Rubik. So that is it. So right after that, we are going now to tackle our result, where the result will be displayed. So to do that, we'll be having we'll be putting container. I don't know if it will reflect now, if it's the okay, we will just leave it like that first. So when we get the result, you will see how it look like, and from there we will apply the following style to it. But for now you can see that the font family is not applying to it. So why the font family is not applying to it? Let me see. Okay, our rating font is supposed to be font family. That is it. So that is it. Now you can see that it's applied, and you have exactly the same thing that we have reproduced here. So that is it, guys. So what are we going to do next? Now we are going to put to our JavaScript part to apply the functionality of the app. So here is the UI. We have finished the UI. We have finished our UI. So now we are going to give the functionality to it. So we are going to now to our JavaScript side. So now let's do, and under here we just do what? We just open a script tag. Here we just put our script tag. So I'll just put script tag. And that inside that script tag we do what? We start declaring our variables. So the first variable we are going to say is variable input, which will be equal to document dot get element by ID. So we are grabbing our first input box like this. By doing that, so the second one will be the period. So period document dot get element by ID, and we will be having period 2 there. So that is it. So we have declared two variables, and those two variables are related to this one. We can see that we are having some ID here, ID input and ID period, and those ID input are inside our input box, the first one and the second one. So we are grabbing those two boxes. So is what we have basically we have done here basically. So what we are going to do now, we are going also to declare another variable which will be the bottom. So we declare that variable by saying document dot get elements by ID by saying button. So that is it. So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to set the first function. The function will be a period due. It will be a period due, the name of the function, and we are going to give his functionality. So after setting the period due function, what will be inside the period due function? We are going to grab the value inside the first input. So we declare a variable show input equal to input dot value. So what are we doing? We just take we declare a variable show input, which will be holding the input value. So that variable is equal to the input value. So whatever we have put inside our first input, first test input box, the variable show in will be holding that value. So it's what we have done. So we will be putting another variable will be show pair, and it will be the same process. That variable 2 will be holding a period dot value. So whatever the number and whatever we have stored inside whatever we have put inside our input, but the second input box will be stored inside our variable shop pair. So from there, what are we going to do? We are going to set another variable which will be date, and that date will be inside that will be we'll be calling a method new date method, which will be applying to that show input. That is yes, which will be applied to the show input, because the show input was getting inside the show input. As we can set the input was a type of date, it's only a date it will be receiving, and that day now we are going to apply to our method as an argument. So the new date method will be holding an argument show in, which is the value of what we have set inside the input box. So that is it, if you can understand me. So the next thing, okay, if you have any question too, you can drop it in the section, the comment section, and I can answer you. And if there's any way or another way to make this code more accurate, I won't say accurate, but more nice, or to reduce some certainties inside, another way to refactor that code so that maybe it will be more short, or to look more nice, you can feel free to drop the inside the comment, because me too, I'm here to learn too. So that is it. So the next thing I'm going to do too is I'm going to set a variable date, which will be equal to date dot get date method. So now we are going to grab now the date from that date, the variable date, so which will be installed inside our variable day. So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to set another variable period day. So period day, which will be equal to a praise int method, and that praise int method will be having an argument of show sorry guys, here is supposed to be show pair, and here to be show pair. Why are we oh shit, it's supposed to be yeah, show pair. So why have we used presenting to show pair? Presenting will just convert whatever is inside our input box, our second input box, to an integer. That is it. It just convert the variable to an integer value. So that is it. And that variable will be, now that variable will be stored inside our period variable. That value will be stored inside our variable period day. So that is why we have used in printing, just convert. It will convert whatever inside our input box to an integer value, which will be stored inside a variable period day. So that is it. So from there, what are we going to do? We are just going to do variable. We are going to set another variable. So this one will be having variable period due, which will be equal to new date, and inside the method we will be having date dot set date to, which is a method, and inside that set date we will be having a day plus a period day. Let me see if I'm in the same page. We're on the same page. No. Okay, like this. So that is it. So basically, what have we done? Well, we have used a date. We have used a day. A day, we know that we have grabbed the date from our date. We have grabbed the date from the date from our date. Okay, let me break it down. Like let's say we are taking the date, we are having a variable day here, so that day are holding the date from our date. So when we take that day, we have that day we'll be using it, and we are adding the number inside our second import bus. So let me go to let me break it. But I'm just saying that the date here, we take the date here, and we'll be adding the number of days inside our period to that day, and it will be returning to us in dates. What am I saying? The day which has been entered here, the date which has been entered here, we will grab it, we will add the number of days inside your cycle to it, which will give us another number, and that number will be converted to day. So basically is what we have done here by using new date, which is the method, and we have used also a set date, which is the method too, so that at the end the variable period due will be having a concrete date to give to us. So the variable the period due will be returning a proper date for us after adding the date which has been inside our first input day, adding to the day the number of days inside your period. So that is it. So as I said it, if you have any question, just drop it inside the comment section to us. So after doing that, what are we going to do now? That period date will return to us a complete day. The period due will return to us here. This period due will return to us a complete date which will be holding the month, the hours, and the month, the year, the hours, and the time. So we will just want the month, we just want the date, we don't want the time and the other stuff. So to do that, what are we going to do? We are going to grab, we are going to set up a variable, another variable, period due, which will be period due date, sorry, which will be given, we'll be taking our period due and we'll be passing to a string method. So that string method will just allow us just to grab the date and leave the remaining one. So that is it. So after that, what are we going to do? We are just going to set the variable result, which will be equal to document dot get element by ID, and we will grab our result. So that is it. And under here we will just be using result dot inner HTML, which will be equal to period date, period due date. So that is it. So now let's go and check if our function is working. But before to check that one, what we have to do is set a button, the button here, button dot add event listener, and we just to click, so that when we click on it, so that you guys can see what is happening clearly. I don't want to go through necessary process. So we just put our period due here. So that's all. So let's go and check if we have what we have done is responding. So let's see if, so guys, you can see that we are having here a sun, your period due is this Sunday, August 14th 2022. So it's what we want. So that is the way we want it. That's what exactly we want, is what he gives us. So you can see that when you take 30 days and we add it to the 15th day of, we add 30 days to the 15th from 15th of the month of July, you can see yourself that will be at the 14th August. So you can just take your calculator and see. So that is it. We are in the 15th, we have set 15 July, and we want a result after, we want to add 30 days to that 15 July. So I'm sure that the result as we are having it here will be the 14th August. So that is it. So our program, what we have set, is working. So let's go back, and now we are going to set the second one, which will be so now we are going to set the function ovulation day, ovulation day. So inside that function we repeat the same thing, we just copy up to here, because they are not a global variable, they are a local one, so we have to repeat them. So that is it. And right after that, what are we going to do? We are going now to set variable ovulation day, which will be equal to new date, and date dot set day, and we'll be taking the day plus the period day minus 14. So for people who used to calculate the ovulation date, they will just understand that the small calculation I just made here, we are having the date which has been set inside our first input box, your first day of your period, the first day of your cycle, and that day we will be adding our period day, which is the number of the cycle, the number of days our cycle, minus the 14 to get exactly our ovulation date. So that is it. So now we pass that information to an integer because it's giving us the date. So as I told you, we want only the date, we don't want anything attached to it. So to have that, only that date, we always use our to date string method. So we'll be doing ovulation day date equal to ovulation dot to string ovulation. Let me see. It's supposed to be ovulation day. So that is it. And that now we are going to grab our variable result. We give a variable result equal to document. We are declaring the variable result, which will be equal to document dot get element by ID, and to that we'll be giving a result of relation. So right after that, what are we going to do? We are going to do result dot inner HTML equal to ovulation day date. So that is it, guys. So let's go and check. So let's set our date here, the number of days, which is 30. Let's see, but it's not coming. We are having a problem here, which is not coming. So, okay, I've forgotten, guys, sorry. I haven't put that function inside a button here, so that when we click it will execute. So we just go to relation and day here. So that is it. So now let's restart the process and just put 30 days here. And now we are having your ovulation day here. That is good. So the ovulation date is here. Now we are going to get our fertility period, and to do that we'll be using two different functions. So let's go back to our script. So now what we are going to do now, we are going to put our function fertility period, and as at we'll be having the same variable, we'll be having the same one up to here. So we just copy it and we paste it, and from there we'll be having variable fertility period equal to new date, and same process, we'll be giving a date dot set date, and inside that method we'll be having a day plus the period day minus 17, and we'll be having after we'll be having a variable fertility period date, which will be equal to fertility period dot to date shrink. So that is it. So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to do a result, variable result equal to document dot get element by id, and that element will be result fertility. So that is it. So after grabbing out that one, we'll be having now we'll be having results. We are having results dot in HTML equal to from and look, we'll be using this one, and it will be from and print out. So inside we'll be having fertility period date. So that is it. So let's check if it's working. So we just put our fertility period here. So let's check once again if to give us our result. So that is it. You can see that our fertility period is from the July 14 July 2022. So that is what we want. But we want the second size to is from this period to another period. We have two dates there, from the first date to the second date. So this is the first date, so it's going to give us the second date where the fertility period will end. It has given us now where it's starting from, so it has to give us where it's going to end. So to do that, we are just going to put another function again. We are going to set another function again, which will be almost the same, but it will be the only difference that will change few things. So I think that we just copy. It will just be this. We we copy it, we paste it, and we just change this one to 2, and here will be 14, and here it will be 2. We'll be having 2 here, and what again? I think that's all. I think that will be all. Okay guys, I think that it will be all. So now we are going to set our function here. We are going to put our function here so that it can be executed. So we just put 2, and we will close. So that is it guys. So let's check now and see the output of it. So let's just take as usual the 1st July, and we put 30, and now see how we look like. Still is not coming now. We are not getting the 2nd date. Oh, but yeah, it's coming, but we are not getting the 1st one. We are having 2. Let me see what is going on. Or is the okay? So I think we're having the 2, but the from is not coming. Okay, we are having a little challenge here. We can see that the variable result document or get element by ID, the result fertilities must be 2, not 1. So I think now it's going to 14th, let's just say 30, and now we are having the 2 dates. We are having from Wednesday to Saturday. So that is it. So now the way it look like is not nice. We are going to align them horizontally front of every title. So if you say your period is due, you'll be having front of it Saturday, August 13th, 2022. So to do that is just a fuel. We just add it, just simple. It's very simple. We just go to our style, and inside our style we just arrange them from there. So nothing complicated. So dot container result date, and inside that container we'll be using display flex. We'll be wrapping the second one, which will be a container dot result ovulation date, which will be display flex, and the second one will be we'll be using now, we'll be taking now the period dot container result fertility period. So that is it, and we'll be having also display flex, and here what we are going now to grab our result, which will be result which will be 10, yes, color red, and you'll be having result ovulation, and you'll be giving the padding left to it, which will be 10 PS. Oh shit, yeah, yes. The padding left will just separate it from the title, which will give a small space from the title. If not, the result and the title will be together. So from there you'll be having a color, you'll be giving a color to it, which will be Alice blue, and we'll be grabbing, let me scroll to the top, we'll be grabbing another one, which will be the result fertility, and we'll be giving that one the padding left to padding left 10 PS, and we'll be giving a color in green, and the last one will be result fertility 2, which will be a padding left, which will be 10 PS, and you'll be having a color green 2. Green, let me see. Okay, it's like that, it's green. So let's now check if what we have done is working. So that is it, guys. So you can see now that our results are set, and if you are taking your calculator and maybe you are trying with your own period, if you are a woman, you can see that our results will be almost the same. Maybe if the mistake of the error should be one day add to it, or one day less, but it will be almost the same. So that is the way we can how can I say, build a period calculator. You can see that is very simple and there is nothing complicated. So if you have any question, you can just drop it inside our comment section, and also the code for this tutorial will be available on my website, so you can go there and check. If you have any problem, you can just look at the code and build it yourself. Just feel free to play around with it. You can also even decided to do your loan calculator. It's almost the same process, so you can do it, and keep learning from our channel, and subscribe and share. So that is it. Have a good day. Bye bye.